Just file for divorce, I don't want the kids." With those harsh words, my husband left the house, leaving behind our 3-year-old twins and our newborn daughter. I had a hunch for some time that he was cheating. But with childcare and work, I had no energy to confront it. "I can't do this anymore." Just then, one of the twins clung to me, saying, "Mommy, we love you." The beloved children looking up at me with worried faces. Despite my anger towards my husband, something snapped in me at that moment. Well, I'll just file it. I immediately signed the divorce papers with a smirk. He's the one who's gonna be in trouble. He doesn't realize how much I've been supporting him. Unknowingly, he had begun his descent into hell. I'll be home late again. How many times have I heard that? My name is Iris, I'm 34. We got married 4 years ago, and he was 2 years younger, which led me to spoil him at first. The following year, we had twin girls, and 3 years later, another daughter. His return home began to get extremely late around the time our last child was born. I hope the third one is a boy. I've always dreamed of playing catch-ball with him. He was excited during the pregnancy, but his attitude soured as soon as he found out it was another girl. And at the hospital, he grimaced upon seeing our newborn daughter. "She doesn't look like me, she's not cute." At that moment, intense anger welled up inside me. How can you say your own child isn't cute? Maybe he was already considering divorce by then. Even after I came home from the hospital, his sulkiness continued. He barely helped with childcare. Show a little interest in the kids. If you're short on hands, hire a babysitter or something. You've got savings from your job. I worked at a top tire company, earning significantly more than most women my age. On the other hand, my husband struggled to keep a job, often quitting before I even noticed. Perhaps he was envious that I was more successful at work. At the time, he was also doing temporary work, and sure of how long it would last. I didn't expect any financial support from him, but I wished he'd at least fulfill his role as a father. Spend some time with the kids at night, at least. What a hassle. When I ask him to do it, he reluctantly does it, but it is so appropriate that my daughters are bored with it. He somewhat realized he wasn't being embraced by them, which he didn't like, leading to a terrible vicious cycle. Then one day, he stopped helping with the kids altogether. "I'm tired from work, let me rest on the weekends." He said so, and on weekends he either stays in his room or goes out with someone. "I have to work this holiday. If you don't watch the kids, I have plans too. See you." My husband leaves without listening to me. I could not leave the children alone at home, so I often had to ask for a babysitter last minute. If it continues like this, it would surely destroy our marriage and negatively affect our children. Thinking this, I decided to talk to my in-laws the next day. However, that's just how husbands are. A wife needs to be patient. More importantly, could you do that thing we talked about last time? My visit to my in-laws ended with them ignoring my concerns and asking for favors. My parents live far away, so it's hard to meet them. I feel guilty even calling, not knowing who to turn to. "Hey, make dinner." Returning home in the evening, I'm greeted by my husband in pajamas and a messy house. The kids, bored playing with toys, instantly smile upon seeing me. "Where have you been all this time?" "I had to stop by the in-laws for a bit." "Hurry up and make dinner." "I'm starving." "If you've been home all day, couldn't you do some laundry or clean the bath?" Hearing this, my husband snorted in amusement. I decided not to do anything for someone who doesn't show gratitude. "What do you mean? I cleaned the bath yesterday, and you didn't thank me." "Didn't I say thank you?" "Not that. I mean, like, at least $100. He stretched out his hand, gesturing for money. What is he talking about? I must have looked distant. Tired and irritated, I pulled him aside to the bathroom so the kids wouldn't hear, and retorted, "I am working, doing the chores, raising the kids, all of it, and you have never thanked me. That's a wife's job." "Then what's your job?" "I work too." He barely earns $1,000 a month and does nothing around the house. Our argument lasted about an hour until, "Mommy, I'm hungry." My daughter's call snapped me out of it. My husband left in a huff, but I ignored him and rushed to prepare dinner. During these tense days, I discovered something. My husband is cheating. I confided this to a colleague from college. She had divorced due to her husband's affairs and advised me to gather evidence immediately. To tell the truth, I noticed my husband's affair quite some time ago. Just before our youngest was born, I noticed a sweet fragrance on him. Wearing perfume. When I casually asked my husband just after he got home, he broke into a sweat and started stuttering. In addition to that, he is coming home very late, talking less and less, and his attitude towards children. There were many signs, including the disappearance of intimacy. But what really convinced me was a certain event. There was a lipstick in the pocket of your jacket. It's mine. My lips get chapped. You're using Channel's pink lipstick. Maybe it's my mom's. His evasive answer sounded like a lie. Then, as he hurriedly said I need a bath, and stripped off his dress shirt on the way to the bathroom, and I sighed. What is that? It's clearly. There was a hickey in a place usually covered by clothes. I was about to go over to my husband, but I immediately thought better of it and decided to gather evidence first. Take your time warming up. I smiled sweetly, pretending I hadn't seen anything. The next day, coming home late from overtime, my daughters were already asleep, and the room was wrapped in silence. We need to talk. Only the dining room light was on, and there he stood, holding a piece of paper. I can't take this anymore. Let's get a divorce. What? Just file for divorce. I don't want the kids. Without waiting for my response, he handed me the divorce papers and left. Mommy. The sound of the door closing woke up the twins, who looked at me worriedly. It's okay, sorry for waking you. Though I told my daughters it was okay, it clearly wasn't. He's reached his limit. That's my line. And what does he mean? He doesn't want the kids. Mixed emotions swirled in my head, and I hadn't even noticed the tears streaming down my face. Mommy, we love you. Sensing something, the girls said just that and hugged me tightly. At that moment, I came to my senses. I can't go on like this. I can't worry these little girls. I realize that as long as I have my children, I'm happy, and this is what I should have done from the start. Though, well, I'll just file it. When I said this with a blown-out look on my face, my daughters smiled, and we all slept soundly that day. The next day, I filed the divorce papers first thing in the morning, and called a certain person. Yes, please go ahead with it. It's my husband who will have trouble. The person on the phone listened to my story and took action. This was something I had considered before. If my husband betrayed me, I would end everything we had been doing. If that ruins his life, it's none of my business. 3 days later. Iris, where have you been? Waiting for me as I returned from work were my in-laws and my husband. My mill was furious, my Phil pale, and my husband seemed clueless, dragged along without understanding the situation. Have you been waiting at the front door all this time? That's kind of creepy. This is no time for that. What is this? My mill thrust a letter at me. It's a notice from a lawyer. I can see that much. Her face was tomato red as she raised her voice. I need to pick up my daughters, so excuse me. Ignoring them, I went inside, but my furious in-laws followed me into the living room, insisting on a discussion. Why would you suddenly send this? I don't understand. You would understand if you read the letter, wouldn't you? Using a lawyer, how cowardly. Despite being in the wrong, my mill's outrage was something else. Mixed with irritation and confusion, I was constantly thinking about how to convey my feelings. Then, my husband, who seemed to understand nothing, finally spoke up. Are you upset because I divorced you, filing some kind of complaint? My in-laws looked at him dumbfounded. Of course, he had no idea what I had done for them all this time. Hey, I didn't hear about any divorce. Is that why this is happening? Such a useless son. What are you two so anxious for? You've ruined everything. Wait, what are we even talking about? As the conversation between them went nowhere, I watched coldly as my mill slammed the table. Why did you divorce Iris? Well, that's... My husband clammed up when things got uncomfortable. Since the conversation wasn't going anywhere, I decided to answer for him. He completely failed to fulfill his duties as a husband and father. There you go again. I told you, that's just how men are, right? So, you would forgive your husband if he had an affair. What? Mimo froze, clearly not expecting to hear her son had been unfaithful. My husband tried to interject, but a sharp glare from me shut him up. Then, oddly, my father-in-law started defending his son. A man's affair is just a fling. It's not a problem. This is pointless. Please leave. All further communication will need to go through my lawyer. So, what are you talking to a lawyer for now? You're agreeing to the divorce, right? My husband was confused, clueless about what was going on. Agreeing. I filed for divorce straight away. Then what is all this about? While arguing with my husband, my mother-in-law suddenly started crying loudly. Paying $56,000 in one lump sum is impossible. What large sum? What are you talking about? Who's paying whom? Finally, the moment had come, time for my husband to regret. I proudly revealed what I had kept hidden until now. It was right after we got married, 4 years ago. I was called to my in-law's house alone, where my mill said she had a serious matter to discuss. Nervous just because she was his mother, I was prepared to help however I could. But the words that came out of her mouth were shocking. "I need $60,000, she said out of the blue, leaving me utterly confused. As I hesitated, she bluntly asked about my salary. Unable to withstand her pressure, I admitted it was over $100,000, and her eyes lit up. Apparently, my father-in-law had gotten into horse racing, losing big amounts without ever winning, and had even accumulated debt. Desperate for $60,000 to cover his debts, she pleaded with me, and I couldn't say no, repeatedly insisting she must pay me back. 4 years passed, and all I got back was just $4,000. There were times when she repaid some, only to borrow again. If I don't do something, I will never be able to collect the full amount, so I hired a lawyer and filed a lump sum claim for the remaining $56,000 in full. My husband's jaw dropped when he heard this, and I almost laughed. But we said we'd pay back little by little. Why suddenly in full? We're no longer family, so I thought I shouldn't hold back. Then my mill, with a screech like a monkey, turned her fury towards my husband. "It's your fault for cheating, so you should be the one to pay it back." Huh? Why should I? We're not working anymore, and our pension won't cover it. If you want me to live in your parents' house, you'll do what I say. There was no way he could pay back $56,000 in one lump sum, especially since he was unemployed again at the time. "I'll live at Kate's place, so I won't pay." That's the name of your affair partner. As I grew increasingly absurd listening to this family quarrel, I decided it was time to deliver the final blow. Don't think it ends with $56,000. I'm demanding $20,000 each from you and your affair partner as compensation, plus child support, of course. What? It's only fair, leaving your children to play around. Where's the proof I cheated? Had he forgotten so quickly about loudly declaring he'd live with Kate? Sighing, I handed him a pile of photos I prepared for this moment. Looking at these made me sick. The photos were from his social media, showing him kissing and embracing his affair partner. Definitely a no-go, as confirmed by my lawyer. "Why do you have these?" A quick online search brought up your social media. It's amazing you thought it wouldn't be found. My naive husband had kept posting cheerful photos on a public setting. He probably continued to use social networking sites without knowing how horrible they were. I was surprised that he was doing this, being mechanically inept, but it made it easy for me to gather evidence of his cheating. Even my in-laws were dumbfounded, gaping at him. "Please leave now. It's time to go to daycare." At least don't demand compensation from Kate. What if she runs away? That's not my problem. With no resolution in sight, I forcefully kicked the family out. "Open this. Help me." I didn't know about the debt. I could hear my husband yelling through the door for a while. "I'm calling the police," I yelled, and the three of them shrugged and left. A year has passed since then. After paying me the compensation, the affair partner disappeared. Because of this, my ex-husband had to live at his parents' home, where they incessantly demanded he cover the $56,000. He ended up borrowing from shady lenders. While he managed to pay that off quickly, he still owes $20,000 in compensation for the affair and $500 a month in child support. Now, he earns his daily wage by doing manual labor from morning to night. The interest on his debt is ballooning, and it might be impossible for him to pay it off in his lifetime. But that's none of my business. Mommy, we're going to be late. Oops, my daughters are calling me to daycare. They're growing up so healthy and strong. That's all the happiness I need. This is an estimate for a two-family house. We've dumped the $300,000 you've been saving up right here. Huh. Wait, did you already use that money? Be thankful, we put it to good use. You're the one at fault for hiding it. Did you guys even check the name on the account? My name is Laura, and I'm a 35-year-old office worker. My husband, Mason, and I have been married for 2 years. We met at a house party, and he was the one who was really interested, which led to the start of our relationship. After dating for about a year, he proposed and we got married. During our dating period, and even after we got married, Mason was really sweet. I was convinced I had married a good man. However, after about a year of marriage, his attitude started to change. Initially, he agreed to share the household chores, helping out with cleaning and laundry. He wasn't good at cooking, so I took charge of that. We had a balanced distribution of household chores. However, he started saying that he was tired more often, and the pace of his housework slowed. Then, he gradually stopped doing the chores assigned to him. Since I also have a job, if I'm responsible for cooking every day, I hardly have time for cleaning or doing laundry. As a result, I inevitably end up doing everything on the weekends. Even though we had agreed on sharing the housework chores before, he refuses to help out when I ask him. I earn more, so I should do less housework. With that, he stubbornly refused to do any housework. Around this time, he started acting like the dominant husband, insisting on having his own way in everything. His selfish words and actions, which could also be described as willful, started to take a toll on me mentally. And there's another person who bothers me. That's my mother-in-law. She has a knack for showing up unannounced at our house, timed perfectly for when I get home. I haven't even prepared the food, and the room isn't properly tidied up either. It's really troublesome because she comes over in this state. She then walks around the house, criticizing me. What's this? How messy. How much are you slacking off in housework? I can't believe you're making Mason live in such a dirty room. You're a failure as a wife. It's really hard being nagged at by my mother-in-law when I come home tired from work. Well, actually, cleaning and doing laundry are supposed to be Mason's responsibilities. Even when I try to explain the situation, she doesn't listen at all. What are you saying? My son is working, isn't he? He shouldn't have to do housework. Well, I also work. It's different from you, who works half-heartedly. Mason works hard, battling the harsh waves of society. I work really hard too though. But no matter what I say, it doesn't seem to get through to her. She was never a reasonable person to talk to in the first place. Anyway, what are you making for dinner today? You have to make sure Mason gets a proper nutrition. Well, today, I'm making fried chicken, salad, and some soup. That's not enough. Huh. That's not enough. Make 2 more dishes. Well, I can't really make that much more after coming home from work. Stop talking back. What kind of upbringing did your parents give you? I was so fed up with being told all these things. I said something confrontational. Isn't it really rude for you to show up unannounced at our house? Didn't your parents teach you basic manners? My mother-in-law's eyes widened with anger. What? Who do you think you are? A daughter-in-law should not be so impertinent. At that moment, when my mother-in-law was screaming, Mason came home. I'm home. Oh, hi Mom, I didn't know you were here. Welcome back, Mason. Listen to this. Laura was so mean to me. She really hurt my feelings. With that, my mother-in-law started pretending to cry. My husband, taking her words at face value, glared at me in anger. Hey, what's this about, Laura? It's terrible that you hurt my mom. Wait a minute, she was the one who hurt me first, okay? I just talked back a bit. Then my mother-in-law, pretending to be innocent, began to cry dramatically. I didn't say anything. I just thought I'd give Laura some advice about housework, but she got all worked up and became angry. What? Laura, what kind of person are you? Wait, you're just going to swallow her words whole. There's no way my mom would lie. It's low of you to bully her when I'm not around. I didn't think you were that kind of woman. My husband was completely on my mother-in-law's side and wouldn't listen to a word I said. As a punishment, you're going without dinner today. Give the dinner over there to Mom. What? No way. If you understand, either go to your room or leave the house. Mom probably doesn't want to be with you. With that said by my husband, I had no choice but to leave the house. I pushed myself with a tired body and managed to make dinner. But why do I have to suffer such treatment? Feeling deeply sad, I decided to go to a nearby diner and have a meal to kill time. I didn't want to see my mother-in-law, so I killed about 2 hours and returned home late at night. She had already left, which was a relief, but my husband had a lot to say. I still haven't forgiven you. My mom was deeply shocked. She had taken the trouble to come and check on us. Being told such things, I thought it would be better not to argue with my husband, and offered a mere formal apology. Seeing my obedience, my husband looked satisfied. Ever since then, my mother-in-law has been showing up without notice, criticizing my housework here and there. And when my husband comes home, she says things like I want to eat with Mason alone, and either sends me out or they both go out to eat without touching the food I made. My husband always sides with my mother-in-law, and a flow has been created where my mother-in-law picks a fight with me for no reason, and I get scolded by my husband. It was so persistent and mentally tough that I decided to talk to my father-in-law. He looked very apologetic because he didn't even know that my mother-in-law had been coming to our house quite often. I'm truly sorry. I didn't notice because she always said she was going to have a meal with her friends. No, it's not your fault. I've been giving her money for meals because she says it's difficult to socialize with friends, but haven't you been accepting it? I didn't know that. I see. I'm truly sorry. My father-in-law apologized to me many times. I felt relieved because my father-in-law promised me that he would talk sternly to my mother-in-law. However, just as I felt that, my mother-in-law visited our house again and started complaining to me. You're really cowardly, going to tell my husband on me. I'm just coming to check on you and Mason. It's really sad. She said such things and got angry. But I can't lose any more. I heard that you've been getting money every time you come to our house from father-in-law. He said he gave it to you for meal expenses, but why hasn't that money been circulated to us? Are you pocketing all the money you get from him? What are you talking about? Don't say such things that sound terrible. I'm treating Mason to eating out, but my father-in-law said he's been giving it to you every time. You've also eaten at my house quite a few times, haven't you? What would he think if he knew you were mostly pocketing it? You're a terrible daughter-in-law. Are you trying to trouble me? I'm the one who's troubled. Please don't come here so often. Shut up. I'm just coming to my son's house. It's not like I'm coming to see you. With that, my mother-in-law plopped down on the sofa. I don't want to see your face. I'll be here until Mason comes back, so please go somewhere. I was completely fed up. Not wanting to see her face, I decided to stay in my room. Later, my husband came home and started a cheerful conversation with her in the living room. I didn't want to deal with their complaints, so I sneaked out while they were talking and went to a diner. I returned home about 3 hours later. My husband was already asleep and mother-in-law were gone, so it was quiet and peaceful, and I retreated to my room. That's when I felt something was off. Wondering what it was, I opened my closet to find that my favorite branded purse was missing. I immediately suspected my mother-in-law. She must have taken the opportunity to break into my room and steal it while I was gone. Unbelievable. I talked to my father-in-law right away. He was speechless. Really, I can't believe she'd stoop to stealing. At first, he didn't fully believe me, but when I showed him a photo of me buying the purse a long time ago and gave him the serial number that I had kept just in case, he agreed to look into it while my mother-in-law was away. I'm really sorry for my foolish wife, Laura. He apologized, and we met at a cafe where he returned the purse. He apologized several times with sincerity. Really, what am I going to do with those two? I want to teach them a lesson somehow. After saying that, my father-in-law seemed to have an idea. I was surprised to hear the plan he proposed. Would it really work? Later, I decided to carry out my father-in-law's plan. As usual, my mother-in-law came to our house, and she immediately glared at me. You haven't been stealing anything, have you? What do you mean? My purse has been stolen. Hey, that purse was originally mine. That's unfortunate. I suspect you're the one who took it. Why would you think that? Humph. Because you don't seem to have received a proper education. Is that so? Should we report it to the police? Well, no, there's no need to go that far. My mother-in-law didn't want to get the police involved because it would reveal that she was the thief. But she would likely come rummaging through my room again. And that's exactly the opportunity I'm looking for. Then my husband came home, and I deliberately went out. There's nothing of value in my room, and I've moved all my favorite expensive items to my parents' home. I've already talked to my parents about preparing for a divorce, so there's nothing in my room except for the bare essentials for daily use. Except for one thing. I intentionally came home earlier than usual. My mother-in-law was just about to leave. She and my husband were smirking at each other. Seeing their expressions, I realized that they had fallen into a trap. It seemed like my father-in-law's plan was going to succeed. On the weekend, my mother-in-law came to our house again. Not wanting to get involved, I holed up in my room, but then I was summoned by her and my husband. Both of them had smug looks on their faces. We didn't think you'd have that much saved up. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. We're talking about the money in the savings account. You're so cheap, not even telling Mason about it. I generously used it on behalf of the family. What? What do you mean? My husband and mother-in-law started laying out some estimates on the table while smirking. This is an estimate for it to a family house. What? We poured in the $300,000 that you saved up. What? Did you already use that money? You should be grateful. We put it to good use. Why would you do something like that without asking? It's your fault for hiding it. We used my $50,000 savings and bought it outright. No interest that way. I can't believe it, making such a big decision without me. Huh? You think you have a say in this? That's right. From now on, you'll be our slave, doing all the housework. If you want to run, you can. But don't forget that it was mostly your money that bought this. You wouldn't want to waste $300,000 and leave by yourself, would you? My husband and my mother-in-law, laughing out loud. Utterly despicable. I can't believe I married such a terrible person. Somewhere in my heart, I was hoping that my husband was a good person being led astray by my mother-in-law. But it didn't seem that way. I have no regrets now. I pulled out the divorce papers I had tucked away in a drawer and presented them to my husband. Let's get divorced. My husband and mother-in-law were surprised. Are you serious? You're gonna lose big time. I'm sorry, but I'm not losing anything. Huh? Did you guys check the name on the account? Huh? Upon my saying this, my husband hastily checked the account name. And both he and my mother-in-law looked very shocked. What? Why is it under my name? She screamed out in disbelief. Hey, what's going on here? Laura, did you steal my mom's bank book? Please don't say such things. I was just entrusted with it by my father-in-law. Even as I said that, they didn't believe me. Cut the crap. That's impossible. That's right, you thieving cat. We'll take you to the cops. As soon as they realized they were at a loss, they switched their attitude. Such a low level of decency. Feel free to talk to the police. I'll submit the footage from the security cameras I installed in my room. It clearly shows both of you breaking into my safe and taking the contents. At my words, they went pale. But you're also guilty for stealing my mom's bank book. That's right, you're going down with us. Just as they were shouting like this, my father-in-law arrived. In truth, when my husband called me into the living room, I texted my father-in-law. Dad, listen, Laura stole my mom's bank book. This woman is a thief. Quiet, both of you shut up. At his angry voice, my husband and my mother-in-law froze in surprise. I entrusted your bank book to Laura. Why would you do such a thing? Because you and our son were causing her distress. Not only were you bullying her, but you even stooped so low as to steal her purse. Shameful. What? What are you talking about? Playing dumb won't work. I returned that purse to Laura. No. My mother-in-law was in shock, realizing that everything had been laid bare to my father-in-law. But why would you entrust that bank book to Laura? If you're the kind of person who'd thoughtlessly steal a daughter-in-law's purse, you'd definitely try to open a safe if you found one. That was a trap I set to test you. But I never imagined you'd build a whole house. He seemed utterly stunned. I transferred that $300,000 to you because I decided to divorce you, as a division of our assets, the father-in-law coldly stated. Knowing you, I was worried you'd spend it like days no tomorrow, so I even considered having Laura put it in a safe until everything was settled. The color drained from the mother-in-law's face at his words. What? Divorce. I've reached my limit. You've done as you pleased too much. From now on, you can live however you want, by yourself. Wait a moment. That means I've used up all the money you gave me for the division of our assets. That's right, but you only have yourself to blame. I've done my part in dividing our assets. I won't give you a single penny more. Double what? What will I do if I'm left penniless from the divorce? You've still got the house, so you'll be fine. He responded, coldly dismissing her pleas and shoving the divorce papers at her. My husband was standing there, his mouth hanging open. I shoved the divorce papers at him as well. Why are you dawdling? Hurry up and fill it out. Is this for real? Are we getting a divorce too? Obviously. And there's still more I intend to claim from you. What? I've been recording the numerous verbal abuses you and your mom have been hurling at me. I consulted with a lawyer and it seems I can claim damages for emotional distress due to your harassment. No way. Furthermore, I know about your affair. What? I've received evidence photos from the detective agency. So, I'll also be claiming damages for your infidelity. According to the lawyer, it should be about $50,000 from you. Double what? Wait a second. I don't have any savings left because I used $50,000 to buy a house. There's an option for installment payments, so that should be fine, right? My money. And so, my divorce from my husband was settled without a hitch. Thanks to the lawyer, I was able to properly collect the damages. It seemed that the father-in-law was also able to part ways with the mother-in-law. My husband and mother-in-law had recklessly built a house using money they mistakenly thought was mine, and in doing so, they lost all their savings. They apparently considered selling the house, but the value had dropped to about half of the purchase price, so they wouldn't be able to sell it without incurring a major loss. The mother-in-law isn't yet of retirement age to receive Social Security, and my ex-husband had his salary cut and was transferred to the countryside because his affair was discovered at his company. Despite finally buying a house, he was transferred and now he's living in a cheap company apartment in the countryside while paying the damages. My ex-mother-in-law, despite having a splendid house, can't afford any luxuries and apparently has to work part-time to earn a living, forcing her to lead a frugal life. Meanwhile, I have quite a bit of leeway in my life thanks to the money I diligently saved since my single days. I'm thinking of continuing to save money and starting to invest to increase my assets, since I'm fine without a romantic relationship for a while. Hey, why would you do something like that? Mysil had bought a skirt for my daughter, but my daughter had thrown it in the trash. As I raised my voice in anger, and my daughter slowly turned around. However, seeing my daughter's expression, I caught my breath. Mom, look at this, my daughter said, tears streaming down her face as she pulled the skirt out of the trash. The moment I saw it, I was at a loss for words. Why in the world? Why would Mysil give this to my daughter? A mix of shock and uncontrollable anger started to boil inside me. My grip on the skirt tightened. I was determined to make Mysil confess why she did it. My name is Riley Collins, 32 years old. I'm a registered dietitian, working as a cook in a nursery school. My husband, Miles, and I have been married for nearly 7 years. We have a family of 3 with our recently turned 5-year-old daughter, Hannah. Our marriage is strong, and despite being busy with both of us working, we lead a fulfilling life. Hannah never seems lonely and always tries to do things on her own. Life with my family was truly happy. Then, one day, when I got home from work, there was a call from my brother, Isaac, who is 2 years older than me. I was surprised but promptly responding. Isaac spoke with a bit of nervousness. It's been a while, Riley. How are you? Hi Isaac, I'm fine. Is something up? Well, actually, I was thinking of visiting you soon. To our place. That's unusual. Is something wrong? Actually, I'm getting married. His unexpected announcement made me exclaim, "What? What do you mean?" I asked, and Isaac began to speak with a shy smile. Exactly what it sounds like. I'm 34, it's not strange for me to get married, right? Well, that's true, but I had no idea you had a girlfriend, so I'm surprised. We've been dating for about a year. You know, our parents are no longer with us, so I wanted to make sure to introduce her to you. Isaac. Yes, both our parents had already passed away. Our father died of illness 5 years ago, and our mother followed the next year. The only blood family I have left is Isaac. Unlike me, Isaac was still single and had been deeply saddened that he couldn't introduce a wife to our parents. For him, marriage must hold a special meaning. Now that our parents are gone, I'm his only family. Isaac must really want to report his marriage to me properly. I could feel his emotions coming through the phone. Unaware of my teary eyes, Isaac continued, "The date for our marriage registration is already set. Now, I just need to introduce her to you, Miles, and Hannah." Really? Our place is always open on weekends, so can I come this Sunday? Of course. Hannah will be thrilled to see you after so long. I'm looking forward to it too. I need to buy a new toy for Hannah. Oh, please, go easy, will you? You always spoil her with gifts every time you visit. That's true, but Hannah is like a daughter to me. Since Hannah's birth, Isaac has doted on her as if she were his own child. Perhaps because he was unmarried, he would bring toys and clothes as gifts every time he visited. Isaac always spoiled Hannah, so she was always glued to him when he visited. Their relationship was more like that of a brother and sister with a big age gap, rather than an uncle and niece. Just as I ended the call with Isaac, Hannah came out of the bath. When I told her about Isaac's visit this weekend, her face lit up with joy. "What? Uncle Isaac is coming. Seems like he wants to see you." "Really? I want to see him too. Will he bring me a toy?" "Yay, he said he would." "You're lucky." "Yay. I can't wait for Uncle Isaac to come." Seeing Hannah's happiness made me happy too. Meanwhile, Miles looked a bit sad, but even that was endearing to me. A few days later, in the afternoon, our doorbell rang. Standing at the front door were Isaac and a petite, charming woman. "Riley, this is Leliani, my fiancée," Isaac introduced. Following his introduction, his fiancée, Leliani, greeted me with a smile. "Nice to meet you." As I ushered them into the living room, Hannah rushed towards Isaac with great excitement. "Uncle Isaac, it's been a while." "Hey, Hannah. You've grown so much. I'm already 5 years old now. You're a big girl. Here, this is your toy for today." "Well, thank you, Uncle Isaac." Hannah gleefully unwrapped a bag she received from Isaac. Inside was a popular toy for kids her age, and she immediately started playing with it. As I made tea and served it to Isaac and Leliani, Isaac started talking seriously. "So, Riley, Miles, thanks for making time today. This is Leliani, my fiancée." "Leliani, you're very charming. I feel like you're too good for Isaac." "Hey, don't say that. Leliani is indeed charming, though. You admit that. Stop showing off, haha." "Oh, come on. You're the one teasing me." Miles and Leliani chuckled at the exchange between me and Isaac. Leliani, with her cute laughter, was indeed too good for Isaac. "Leliani, are you sure you're okay with my brother?" I asked, half-jokingly. She chuckled again and replied, "Of course. Isaac is the one for me." "Really? Having someone as wonderful as Leliani marrying my brother, I guess the world isn't so bad after all, haha. He is a very special person to me." "Really? I'm glad to hear that. Isaac has an average face, and he's a bit too kind-hearted." "That's true, Haga. But don't worry, I'll be watching over him as his wife from now on." Isaac grinned happily at Leliani's words. Watching them, I couldn't help but smile. The following month, Isaac and Leliani got married, and this is how Leliani became my sil. Since then, they regularly started visiting our home. Every time, Isaac brought toys and clothes for Hannah. "Hey Hannah, this is for you." "Well, this dress is from my favorite place. I made sure to ask your mom what you'd like. Make sure to wear it a lot, okay?" Yay. I'll wear it a lot. Thank you, Uncle Isaac. Hannah and Isaac always got along well, and it was always like this when they visited. About a year after Isaac's marriage, Isaac and Leliani visited our house as usual. That's when I noticed something different about Leliani's expression. Well, did Leliani always have such a stern look? She used to have a much gentler vibe. I wonder if something's wrong. She was watching Isaac and Hannah play with an intense gaze. I felt concerned and decided to speak to Leliani. Hey, is something bothering you? Why do you ask? It's just that you seem different today. I'm sorry if I'm mistaken. No, you're not mistaken. I've been a bit troubled lately. I see. If it's okay with you, I can listen to what's on your mind. Thanks, Riley. But it's something talking won't solve. Leliani cut me off with a dismissive tone, almost as if mocking. This was the first time I saw her like this, and I was so surprised I couldn't find the right words. Struggling, I desperately searched for the right words to say. Right, I see, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pry. Riley, you don't seem to have any worries, do you? Huh. No, that's not true. Well, I think it's better to be carefree like you. Being sensitive like me means you end up worrying about a lot of things. I see. Her words sounded like a compliment, but they were the exact opposite. It felt like she was belittling me. Why did she have to say it like that? I was just genuinely concerned. Now I feel foolish. Since then, I started feeling uncomfortable around Leliani. Then one day, Hannah said something that caught my attention. Mom, can Uncle Isaac come alone next time? Why's that? Because Uncle Isaac's wife always looks at me with scary eyes. Really? She does. Yes. She's always glaring at me. And sometimes she doesn't even respond when I talk to her. It was rare for Hannah to speak ill of someone. The fact that she said this much. From Hannah's perspective, Leliani's gaze must have indeed been frightening. Even if that were the case, the dislike would only be towards me. Why then? Is it because she doesn't like my daughter since she doesn't like me? If that's the reason, it's too unfair for Hannah. At this rate, Hannah will also develop a dislike towards Leliani. Worried, I decided to find a chance to talk to Leliani about it. 2 months later, Isaac and Leliani visited after a long time, and Leliani's mood was incomparably better than before. She was constantly smiling, and there was no trace of the scary atmosphere from last time. Was it all in my head? Or was it just a bad day for Leliani back then? As these thoughts crossed my mind, Leliani approached Hannah with a big smile. Hannah, I have a gift for you today. A gift? Yes. Look at this. I bought this skirt thinking it would suit you. For me. That's right. Open the bag after I leave and have a look at it on your own, okay? Thank you. Hannah hugged the bag she received, her face bright with happiness. No wonder, as the gift was clothes from her favorite brand. Leliani must have asked Isaac about Hannah's preferences. I was genuinely happy that Leliani thought of Hannah and bought her something. After Isaac and Leliani left, Miles went out for shopping. As I began vacuuming, watching Hannah happily opening her gift from the corner of my eye. But right after that, I stopped the vacuum cleaner and raised my voice. Hey, what are you doing? The gift from Leliani was a skirt from Hannah's favorite brand. Shockingly, Hannah had thrown it into the trash can. As I yelled, Hannah slowly turned around. But seeing her face, I involuntarily gasped. Mom, look at this. Sobbing, Hannah pulled the skirt out of the trash. The moment I saw it, I was at a loss for words. What is this? When I unfolded the skirt, I saw mud-like stains, and the back was torn to shreds. Why? Why would she give such a thing to Hannah? A mix of shock and uncontrollable anger started to rise within me. My grip on the skirt tightened. I finally understood. Leliani disliked not only me but also my daughter. This was deliberate harassment. I explained the situation to Miles, and the next day, we decided to call Isaac and Leliani over again. I decided to leave Hannah with Miles and went outside. The next day, Isaac seemed to have no idea why he was called again. Thinking it was just for some reason, he casually asked, "What's up?" I told Isaac the truth. The skirt Leliani gave to Hannah yesterday was smeared with mud, and the back was shredded. What? That can't be true. That's a bit too harsh for a joke. Then look at this. I showed Isaac the skirt Hannah had received the day before, spreading it out in front of him. Isaac's eyes widened as he turned to Leliani and muttered softly, "What's this about?" When I glared at Leliani, she sighed heavily and began to speak indifferently. "So what? It's not a big deal. I just don't like you guys." "Why's that? Did Hannah or I do something to offend you?" "Not really. It's just annoying that you have a child and Isaac keeps buying toys and clothes. We don't have kids, and that bothers me. For such a selfish reason." "Selfish? Do you have any idea how much I've suffered because of you and your daughter?" Leliani's reasoning was incredibly self-centered. Apparently, she assumed she would get pregnant soon after their marriage. However, as months and a year passed without pregnancy, she was diagnosed as having difficulty conceiving. This was a huge blow to her pride, and she must have kept this fact hidden from Isaac. That's why she disliked me, just for the fact I had a child, and even harassed Hannah. Knowing all this, I began to tremble with anger. "Please don't ever come here again." At my murmur, Isaac slammed the table and stood up. "Isaac, this is ridiculous." "What? This is ridiculous. Are you insane?" Isaac glared fiercely at Leliani and raised his voice. "You can't be serious. What you're doing is insane. I can't forgive what you did to my dear sister and niece. I never thought you were such a twisted person." "What? I'm not in the wrong here. It's all your sister's fault." At Leliani's retort, Isaac showed his fangs. What did my sister do? Riley has just been working hard raising her child. She celebrated our marriage so much. How can you do something like this? How can you do such terrible things to your husband's brother and sister? Don't you realize what you have done?" It was the first time I saw Isaac so distraught, which oddly made me calm. But Leliani, even in this situation, showed no remorse and just sighed. Finally, Isaac said to her, "We're getting a divorce." At that, Leliani's eyes widened in shock. With a strained expression, she slowly opened her mouth. "Wait a minute. What are you saying? Divorce is a joke, right?" "It's no joke. You did something terrible to my family. Divorce is the only option. Don't joke with me. I'm your family too. Why are you siding with your sister?" "Shut up. You hurt my precious family. I no longer consider you family, but the worst kind of stranger." No. I don't want this." Leliani broke down crying and collapsed on the floor. Isaac and I continued to look at her coldly. Later, as Isaac had declared, he divorced Leliani. She was reluctant, but with her parents present, Isaac explained the situation. Fortunately, her parents were reasonable people. They acknowledged Leliani's fault and convinced her to agree on getting a divorce. After the divorce, Isaac visited us again with a gift. It was a brand new skirt for Hannah. Wow, it's so cute. I thought it would suit Hannah. Do you like it? Yay. It's my favorite among all my skirts. That's great. Make sure to wear it a lot, Haga. I will. Thank you, Uncle Isaac. Fortunately, Isaac didn't seem too downhearted. He seemed more regretful about hurting Hannah than the divorce, but now it looks like he's healing from that wound. He will continue to shower love as a brother and as an uncle to Hannah. I am proud of him for standing up for Hannah and me, even if it meant getting a divorce. Thank you, Isaac. My word.